Good morning to all. I hope you all are safe at your home. I, Ms. Gunjan Daswani from Shiv Jyoti Educational Group Kota, welcome you all to the e-learning classes of English, grammar, and today we are going to revise chapter number 1, chapter 2, chapter number 4 and chapter number 7 of your English grammar book. So first we are revising chapter number 1, that is nouns. Okay, so let's see what are nouns. I can say that nouns are what? Naming words. Okay, they are called as naming words because it tells us about the name of person, place, animal or thing. So in short, I can say that nouns are what? Naming words. Okay, in first chapter we are going to see that the types of nouns. So in your book there are 6 types of nouns. So what are these 6 types of nouns? So first one is common noun. Second is proper noun. Third one is collective noun. Fourth is abstract noun. Fifth one is concrete noun. And the last type of noun is material noun. Okay, so these are the 6 type of nouns that we will be studying. So these are what? These are the 6 type of nouns. Okay, these are types of nouns, right? So the first one is common noun. So what is a common noun? The word itself is suggesting that we will talk about name of person, place, animal or thing commonly when we are not particularly specifically saying something about a name of a person, place, animal or a thing. That time the noun would be common noun. Moving to the second one, that is proper noun. What is a proper noun? When we are particularly telling the name of a person, place, animal or thing, that time the noun would be of proper noun. Now what is collective noun? Now collective means what? Collective means a group. So, okay, when we are telling the names of group of person, place, animal or thing, that time the noun would be of the name that represents the group of people, animal or thing. That time the noun would be of what? Collective noun. Now the fourth one is abstract noun. Abstract noun tells us about the quality, idea or feeling. Okay, when we are showing an emotion, that time we use abstract noun. Now coming to the fifth one, that is concrete noun. So what is a concrete noun? So this noun can be identified by one of our 5 senses, like either you can taste, either you can smell them, either you can touch them, either you can hear them or see them. So these are your 5 senses. So the things that you can either see, taste, touch, feel. So these are that type of nouns would be of concrete noun. Okay, when moving to the last type of noun, that is material noun. So when we are the thing which is made up of something. So that something is what? Material noun. Okay. So these are the types of noun. Now we are going to see the examples of these nouns. Okay. So the example of common noun could be like, so first one is common noun. So the first type of nouns example are boy. Okay, I can say like boy, girl. So these are, I am not specifically pointing out on a boy. I am not telling the name of that. I am just commonly saying a boy. So a boy there are so many boys, right? So boy is what? A common noun. Okay. Now moving to the second one, that is proper noun. What can be a proper noun? If I say Taj Mahal. Okay. So Taj Mahal is a particular place, right? It's a particular place. So when we represent particular place, animal or thing, that time the word would be of proper noun. Okay. Now moving to the third one, that is collective noun. What is a collective noun? As I told you, when we are representing the group of people, that time we say that these the words are of collective noun. Okay. So the examples I could say like that, like a flock of sheep, an army of soldiers, or I can say a gang of thieves, okay, a fleet of ships. So these are what? These are examples of collective noun. So I am writing some example. A gang of thieves. So gang is what? Collective noun. One more example I am writing. An army of soldiers. So army is again representing the whole class. So gang and army are the examples of collective noun. Now moving to the fourth one, that is abstract noun. I can say like something which we can't see, okay, but we can feel that emotion. That is what? Abstract noun. So I can say like advice, knowledge. Can you see knowledge? No, but you can feel that. That's an idea, that's a quality, right? So these are examples of abstract noun. Now moving to concrete noun. I can say like flower, okay, or I can say like dress. Okay, this can be smelt by you. So this is an example that that can be identified by one of our senses, right? So this can be smelled, which can be identified by one of our senses. So this is an example of concrete noun. Okay, now the dress. Now we are wearing it, so means it can be touched. Okay, it is worn on our body. That is why this is again an example of concrete noun. Now moving to the last one, that is material noun. The things which are made up of what? Like gold, wood. So these are examples of material noun. So gold, wood, these are the things from which we make things, right? These are the material that we use to make things, right? So these words represent what? Material nouns. So these are the types of nouns, and these are the examples related to these nouns. Okay, so this was the revision of chapter number 1. Now we will revise chapter number 2. So now chapter number 2, that is singular and plural nouns. Okay, so on the basis of number, nouns are of two types. That is, first one is singular noun, and the second one is plural noun. Okay. So singular noun, when we are talking about singular noun, we refer to only one person, animal, place or thing. Okay, when we are referring to only one thing, or person, place or animal, that time the noun would be of singular noun. But when we are referring to more than one person, place, animal or thing, that time the noun would be of plural noun. So when we are talking about one thing, singular noun, more than one, plural noun. Okay, some examples, that is, you can see cat, that's representing only one cat, right? So this is what? A singular noun. Okay, now one more example, ray, this is also representing only one thing, that is, now that this is what? A singular noun. But when we talk about the plural noun of these words, so we are talking about more than one cats, right? So that is why we used cats. We added s, right? Now after that the singular noun was ray. The plural noun of it would be rays. So this word is also representing what? Plural noun. Okay, when we are talking about one thing, singular, more than one thing, plural noun. Okay, so these are the things. And for the ways to form plural from the singular, you can see your book on page number 6. Okay, on page number 6 a topic is given, how do we change forms. Okay, you can open that and you can see that. Okay, on page number 6 of your English grammar book. Okay, now an example, a sentence I am taking from your book only. Let's see. The dash were singing as they walked slowly to the marketplace. Okay, so this is the sentence and the noun which we are given with is woman. Okay, now this woman represents singular noun, this is a singular noun. Now we have to fill the blank with the plural noun of this word. Okay, so the plural noun of woman, M-A-N, would be what? Woman, that is V-O-M-E-N. Okay, when in singular A was there, but in plural it's what? E. Okay, this is the answer. Or I can say like lady is converted into ladies, right? L-A-D-I-E-S. Or I can say city is converted into cities, right? So these are some examples of singular and plural nouns. Okay, so this is the revision of chapter number 2. Okay, now we are revising chapter number 4, that is nouns cases. So case of a noun tells us what? The position of a noun in a sentence. Okay, now according to this there are 3 cases. What are they? Let's see. First one is nominative case. Second is objective case, or this can be called as accusative also. Okay, so case. Okay, third one is possessive or genitive case. Okay, now what are these? So first one is nominative case. When the noun in a sentence represents the subject in the sentence, that time the case would be of nominative case. When noun is used as a subject in a sentence, that time the case would be of nominative case. Now objective or accusative case. So in this case the noun will represent an object. Okay, when the noun is used as an object in the sentence, that time the case would be objective case. Okay, now the third one is possessive or genitive case. As the word itself is saying, possessive means possession. When we will show that the thing belongs to me. Okay, it's mine. That time what I will what case would be genitive case, but it will come with a noun. Okay, how? With a use of an apostrophe. Okay, we will be using an apostrophe to show possessive or genitive case. Now let's see an example. Okay, so I am writing an example. My friend bought a pretty dress for Neha. Okay, so I am underlining a noun over there, and now you have to tell me that noun represents what case among these cases. Okay, so I am underlining Neha. Okay, now you have to tell me that underlined noun represents which case. Okay, so the underlined noun is coming in the place of an object. Okay, that is why it would be of objective or accusative case. Okay, now this represents what? I can write over here objective or accusative case, right? Now moving to the so I am taking now examples from your book only. So let's see. The school is closed on Sunday. Okay, and I am underlining school over there. Now at what position it is? It is at the subject's position. It is representing the subject in a sentence, right? That is why this would be of nominative case. Okay, what will come? This is the answer for this. The answer for this is nominative. Okay, now I am taking one more example, that is the children's book are lying on the table. Okay, and I am underlining children's over there. As I told you that it would always have an apostrophe to show the possession of something. That is why this noun belongs to which case? Possessive case. So this answer is, the answer for this one is what? Possessive case. Okay. So these are some examples related to these cases. Okay, now this was the revision for chapter number 4. Now we will revise chapter number 7. Now we will revise chapter number 7, that is adjectives, degrees of comparison. So as you all know that adjective tells us what? Tells us it describes the things, right? It tells us about the quality of something, right? So now we are seeing the degrees of comparison that we use to compare the adjectives. So what are these degrees? First one is positive degree, second is comparative, and the third one is superlative. Okay, now the first one, that is positive degree of comparison, when we are comparing nothing, like when it shows what? No comparison. Okay, that time the adjective would be of positive degree. Okay, now when we move to comparative, so comparative degree shows comparison between two things. When we are comparing two things, that time the adjective would be of comparative degree. Okay, now moving to the superlative. What does the superlative tell? So the superlative degree shows comparison between more than two things. Okay, when we are comparing more than two things, that time the degree of comparison that would be used is superlative degree. Okay, now there are some ways to form this comparative and superlative out of this positive degree of comparison. So what are they? Some ways are already given in your book on page number 30. You can see that, and I am also telling you over here. So now we will see some ways to form the comparatives and superlatives. Okay, now sometimes what we do is we use the adjectives of one syllable, form their comparatives with the addition of the suffix er and est to the superlative form. Now I can write that one syllable. Now what is this one syllable? I have told you before also, like if you have to identify a one syllable word, you have to see that how many vowels are there in that word. Okay, if there is one vowel, that word would be one syllable word. Okay, now I am giving you example to form er or est. Okay, now to form the comparatives and superlatives. Okay, now let's see. Old. Okay, this is the positive degree, right? To form the comparative, we have to add er or est, right? So to form the comparative of this word, that is old, it's having just one, identify this is having one vowel, that is O. So it's a one syllable word, right? Now moving to the comparative degree of this word, that would be older. We add er in the comparative degree and est in the superlative degree. Okay, now moving to the second one, that is adjectives that ends in y form their comparative by replacing y with I and then adding er, and again y will be replaced with I and we will add est to form the superlative. Okay, so I can say the words ending in y ends with y. So one example I am giving you over here. Lazy, it's ending with y. So what I have to do? I have to replace what? Y with I. Okay, y will be replaced with I over here, right? So y will be replaced with I and then we will add er to form the comparative and est to form the superlative. So what we will first do? We will replace y with I. So what will come? Lazi. I is coming in the place of y and then we will add er. Okay. Now the same will happen with superlative also. In place of y, what is coming? I, and we will add est. Okay. Now seeing the third one, that is the adjectives that ends in y form their comparatives by adding r and their superlatives by adding st. Okay, we just have, it's already having e with it, a and ending with it. Okay, so what we will do, we will just add r to form the comparative and st to form the superlatives. So I can say like that, ends with e. Okay, so example I am giving you. Fine, it's ending with what? E, right? To form the comparative, I just have to add what? R. Okay, I just added R, and to form the superlative, what I will add? St. Okay. So this is the positive, comparative and superlative degree. Okay, for the words which end with e. Now moving to the next one, that is fourth one. So fourth one, for adjectives that end with a vowel and a consonant, we double the last consonant and add er to form the comparative, and we double the last consonant and add est to form the superlative. Now what you have to do? Okay, what we do, double the last consonant. This we will understand with the help of an example, that is I am writing one thing, that is thin. You can see it's ending with n, which is a consonant, and before it there is a vowel, right? So the words like this, it's ending with consonant and before that it's preceding with a vowel. So for these kind of words, for these kind of adjectives, what you are going to do is, you will just double the last consonant. What we will double? We double n over here. Okay. So, and then we will add er to form the comparative and est to form the superlative. Okay. So, the comparative of thin would be thinner. We just double n over here. We just double the n, and right, and then we added er. Okay, after that, same goes with the superlative also. We doubled n over there and then we added est. Okay. Now the fifth one. Most adjectives with more than one syllable form their comparatives by the addition of more before them and their superlatives with the addition of most. So as we have seen the one syllable word, right? Now we will see what happens with more than one syllable word. Okay? More than one syllable. Okay, to identify this, you have to see how many vowels it has in that word. Okay, so if it has more than one vowel, then it belongs to this category. What you have to do with this? You have to add more and most to form the comparative and superlative degree. Okay, so the word I am writing, it's fragrant. To form the comparative degree, we have to add more fragrant, okay, and to form the superlative, we have to add most before the word. So most fragrant. Okay. So how did we identify that this word belongs to this category? As you can see, there are we are using to add vowels at two places over there. Okay, so it being used 2 times in that word. That is why this word belongs to this category, that is more than one syllable. Okay. Now the 6th one, that is irregular adjectives. What happened with irregular adjectives? So irregular adjectives do not follow any rules that we have studied, right? We have studied these rules. So they don't follow these rules that we have studied before it, because they will just change the whole word. As you can see, I am telling you an example, that is good. Okay, so to the comparative of good would not be gooder or goodest. It would be better. Better is the comparative degree and best is the superlative degree. Okay, so you can see over here that I am not adding gooder or goodest. You can see the whole word is changed. That is why good belongs to the category of irregular adjectives. Okay, I hope you have understood these ways to form the comparatives and superlatives. I hope you have understood all the chapters. Please revise it thoroughly. Thank you.